Diversity Inclusion, and it is absolutely my honor to interview her today or to chat with her, Drocella Mugorewera. Did I get it? Did I hit it? Because I practiced it. Drocella Mugorewera.
Yes.
There we go.
Yes, yes.
Names are important, and your name is a part of your culture and a part of your story. You're a refugee from Rwanda. You've been here in the United States for 15 years?
15 years.
Tell me first about your childhood.
So before I do that, I want to congratulate you and to thank you for this show and all the impact you are making in our community.
Thank you.
I was raised and born in Rwanda, which is in East Africa. I am one of the 9 children. So we had a family of 9 and I was in the middle. And I went to primary school in the neighborhood. And then when I went to high school, it was the first agricultural girls' school, Efa Nyagahanga. After high school, I went to college in Kiev. That time it was the Soviet Union. So I went to Ukraine for college. In my childhood.
How did you end up in Kiev?
Kiev, Rwanda had multilateral cooperation with many countries, okay, including Russia. So then when I did apply for a scholarship, I won one to go to study in Ukraine. And I spent there 4.5 years. And this is where I met my hubby, my husband of 31, Jean. So I have good memories of that time.
Your schooling really propelled you to success in Rwanda. You were in parliament, you were in government, and you're one of the many women in leadership there.
Yes. After going back home, I became a civil servant in the Ministry of Environment and Tourism. And then I was called to be close to the minister in the cabinet. And after that, when we had to make a transition parliament, I was appointed to represent my political party, Christian Democratic Party. And then after that, I was asked by the president to be on his government cabinet. So I had a big portfolio, the Ministry of Lands, Environment, Forestry, Water and Mines. And I had 2 Secretary of State. So it was a joy to be in that position because I was born to lead, and I always wanted to be an influencer. And influencing policies and laws is something I'm very thankful and proud of.
Tell me a little bit about the impact you had while on that job.
The impact I had, I remember when I was in the parliament at that time and we were drafting Rwanda Constitution, and I was leading the Rwandan Women Parliamentarian Forum. We had to have an international conference to learn how other countries made sure, especially South Africa, to make sure that our constitution reflects gender, equality, also environment and human rights. And then I was part of drafting the constitution, giving some contribution when I was in the parliament and in the government. And now I think Rwanda is one of the first country having a big number of women in parliament and also in all decision making when it comes to government institutions. So we made sure that at least 30% of the position of leadership are held by women. So that is an accomplishment I'm very proud of. I am also proud of that when people go to Kigali, they say, oh, it's a clean city. So when I was a cabinet minister in charge of environment, I remember we did community work to collect all plastic bags everywhere they were, and we did ban the plastic shopping bags. So now they are using reusable shopping material, and environment was always at my heart, even now. And I did plant and do campaign about tree planting, and some trees are named after my name, trees, Drocella's trees or Mugorewera's trees. So I am very happy for that.
When you reflect back on your time in government, did you ever think as a little girl, like, I'm going to grow up one day and I'm going to be a civil servant, I'm going to be in parliament?
I don't think so. I wanted to be an influencer, but not so high. I remember when they come to ask me, I say, I want to be a middle class person. I do not want to go in high position. And some women were very encouraging to ask me to accept the task because they were seeing the capacity in me and they were behind me. So, and really, it's good to be in decision making so you can influence policies and decisions that are made so you can even save lives, you know?
Right, right. Let's talk a little bit about, your transition from Rwanda to here. Obviously, your time there came to an end in a very scary manner. You talk about threats that you received. Talk a little bit about why you had to flee your home country.
The freedom we enjoy or the freedom that is allowed by the Constitution is not always exercised. So when I was challenging some decisions, I was considered as a threat or not being obedient to leaders. And then when my life was threatened in 2008, I had to find where to go. I remember when I became a consultant, and that time I was going to Uganda, and then I was pulled off from airplane, and somebody say, I'm wanted. I say, who is the CEO who is wanting me? But they didn't tell me what. And then, thank God, they brought me back after, I think, an hour on the board. And then I did spend 2 nights without sleeping, asking myself, what will I do? I became a refugee, leaving behind my 12 years old daughter. I have 4 siblings and my husband. It was just devastating, but I didn't have any choice. Without a direction, I say, God, help me to find somewhere to go. And one time, my life was in the hands of 2 strange men who could have raped me, who could have killed me, but they were angels God put on my way to save my life. And then when it was very difficult, they took me to United Nations High Commission of Refugees office. And then they put me under a safe house for almost 9 months, where I was processing to find a country of host. And then when they presented my file to United States Embassy, they said, yes, she can go to America. And this is how I came to America in 2009. So I didn't talk to my children for almost a year, and I didn't see them for 2 years. And I'm thankful that America gave a chance and facilitated the family reunification. My children are here, my husband is here. They went to college. Always, when as many parents, I was dreaming to see them graduating from college. And they did, and I'm grateful. When they came here, they all went to the Catholic high school, and then in different colleges. My son has an MBA in supply chain from UT, and my daughter did human resources management at UT. My husband went to school back at UT. He did accounting. And then other nieces now, one is an accountant, the other one is a nurse practitioner.
I love how proud you are. You're like, yes. Let me tell you about my wonderful children.
Yes. And then the other one is a flight attendant. So through pain, the purpose come. And now they are serving in different capacities.
So let me ask you this, because threats obviously just don't come overnight. Was this a slow buildup where you started to see, wait, this might be kind of serious? These people mean business. They don't want me here.
Yeah, I saw it gradually, because sometimes I was like, we were exchanging idea like this, and some people would report, oh, she did say this, she did say this. How can you be a politician without, exchanging ideas? So it was weird, but I endured that, and until I get to the point that I couldn't stand it.
You said when you were on that flight, before you were taken off, you said you always traveled with your Bible. Talk a little bit about how you figured out what your next step was going to be by reflecting and really praying in those tense moments.
So when I was in that conference in Uganda, and I prayed, and I just continued to see the refuge, and I was resisting, and I say, God, may you will be done. Show me the way. And this is how I called a friend, and I said, friend, I'm here. And he said, are you safe? I said, pretty much, I'm safe. But he said, I had a dream. I saw you. You are not safe. He was also a Christian praying. And then I said, how can you help me to get out of here? Because when I was in a hotel, I was a public figure. It was easy to recognize me. And then we find another way where to go. And then when it was very hard, those two men took me to one embassy, and then the ambassador is the one who made me transition to United Nations High Commission of Refugees. Even if it was hard, during those months of not communicating with my family, I had the best time with my Lord, because I had to pray for everybody, our mate, praying for favor and the good neighbors and good friends, and I have them. So when they told me that I'm coming to US, I say, God, I studied in Russia, snow was so much, I don't want to go in a cold place, I don't want to go, don't want to go in Arizona too hot, and then I find a good place like Tennessee. When they say Tennessee, even if I traveled before to Georgia, I couldn't imagine in my head where Tennessee was. I had to Google to see the map where I'm going. So I'm grateful for Tennessean and Knoxvillians. We have good friends. I'm not one of those people who say, who is your emergency person? And we say, God or Jesus. I have plenty of friends now. So I rebuilt my entire life from the ground up, and I'm thankful.
Do you think people understand just how hard that is? It's one thing to just move across the country. That's hard. But to literally uproot your life, to leave your children, your husband, and to come to a place where you don't know anyone. Like it's a complete starting from scratch.
It's hard, and people do not understand, and this is why in 2015, when Bridge Refugee Services was looking for a director, I was working in a place at Cherokee Health Systems. I had benefits, I have 401k, I have health insurance, I had health insurance, and I say, I can do that work. I have experience, I have managerial skills, I have a refugee story to tell, and understand the pain and the struggles of refugees. And I left that position with benefits to go to start in a position where I didn't have any health insurance for work. But I said, I'm going to share the story and the stories of refugees so people can know why we are here and our contribution to our communities. And then people started to come, and donations, and I created the first reserve fund ever. And now, and then refugees come on the board of directors. So it was just a pleasure, and then I promised the board of directors that I would make Bridge a vibrant organization. And then in 2022, I felt that my mission was accomplished and dreamed to go out for a bigger mission.
What was your time like with Bridge? What was it like stepping into that space?
The first time, some people didn't understand why I was doing a lot of community outreach.
Okay.
But I wanted to make sure I have many allies, and I have many people who understand what are refugees, why do they flee, how can they support, because the refugee resettlement is a public and a private program. But when you were talking about refugees, people will say, Bridge is there. No, it's when they are here, they are our friends, they are our neighbors. We have to help them to integrate in the community. And that was my main purpose, to do intensive outreach, to tell people who are their newcomers and how they can support them and how we can, what we are bringing on the table. Because some people are misled, thinking that refugees are just here to take resources, but they are bringing also social, cultural, and economic values to our communities. And when we work together, you create friends for life. So people who welcomed me are my bestie. When I have like an emergency, I know who to call.
Right.
And they admire what I can bring at the table. They will ask me to speak. They will ask me to be part of the community. So refugees are fleeing because of political persecution, because of their race, religion, ethnical appartenance, or they are escaping wars and violence. So they are forced to flee their home. Imagine you now. You are sitting here, and you will say, I will not go back home. You just have where to go. So I made sure, I made sure that people understand. Now, I think many people in Knoxville, in Chattanooga as well, they are aware of why refugees are coming to our place and how we can support them.
Do you have a favorite story from your time there interacting with either a person or a family? Is there anybody that sticks? I'm pretty sure there are many stories, but is there one that sticks out for you?
Yes, because I wanted to see, the government support is not much in terms of financial support, and then we wanted to fundraise. I remember going into Connect Knox. It was a community gathering for leaders, and there was Will, a Haslam's son. And then we met, and I said, I wanted to have a coffee with you because I wanted to see if they can support me either to give me money for a case management position or a development and a communication, because I wanted to make more money, so not just depending on the government. And then I went with these two projects, and I say, favorably, I would present the $50,000 so I can hire a communication and development manager, because this is a position that will bring in money within the organization that will not come back to you.
I love it.
So even though the second year, I think they gave us $50,000 and then $20,000, so that position actually was critical for me. And as an executive director, even though you are in charge of fundraising, but community outreach, the policies, and be the face of the organization, it was too much. So I needed somebody to, to help me to carry that. And that was the first development communication manager position ever created since 1982. Bridge was created. And when I left, they had $100,000 in the reserve, so which they never had before. So that was a good story I can tell. But another story I can tell, when my children came, 1 year after I arrived here, I called this lady my American mother. Her and her son, normally she goes to bed at 8, but my children came at midnight. She was still up, and then the son drove our church bus, and then we went to pick up our children. So that was a fascinating story or so. And then another family gave me $3,000 to welcome my children. They are dead, but they were just good friends. They invited me and my husband at the dinner at their home, and they handed out a check to welcome the children. So these are good. And then they came to my son's wedding before they passed. So, and then the Catholic high school, it's a private school. They helped my children to pay the school fees because I wanted them to be in Christian school, but because back home they were also in Christian school. What I had to do is like paying some fee and then do transportation for them because they were not public transportation bus. So people have been so generous and supportive. And then I remember we had other friends or so who will drop them off and take them back like 2 days a week to give us a relief.
You had a community.
Yes. And this is why I tell refugees there are 3 pillars of refugee integration: learning the language, employment, and community engagement. The more and the better and the quicker you engage in the community, the more successful you become.
Wow. I love how when you said language, one thing we didn't talk about, you speak multiple languages?
Yes, I speak 5 languages. Yeah.
What do you speak?
I speak English, French, Russian, Kinyarwanda is my native language, and then Burundi is a neighboring country to Rwanda, and those languages are almost the same.
That is fascinating.
Yeah.
That is fascinating.
And this is why I want to be remembered as language equity and diversity champion.
Going back real quick when you talked about when your kids came in at midnight, what was that first hug like? Because I know what that hug is like at the end of the night, just on a regular day. It's rejuvenating when my kids hug me.
Yes.
But after a year,
I remember my son, he just lifted me up and just turned around, and it was, and then the director that time brought like young people and they sang at the airport. It was just relieving, relaxing, emotional, and I remember going home and we sat with, we just look each other in the eyes.
That's right.
It's like when my husband came, we just looked at each other and we were speechless at the very beginning. Yeah.
What has life been like for you? Because you've taken on this new mission. You're an author. You know, I was looking, you know, not many people come over and within 15 years, you know, build up a nonprofit, write 2 books. Talk a little bit about where you are now, because this one is wonderful, Leaders with a Heart, where you talk about diversity, inclusion, and what that really looks like, because we see those terms thrown around a lot.
So for the first book, the person who introduced me to the author is a Canadian, but his parents are originally from Afghanistan. Mm-hmm. So, and he speaks French. So when I was connected to him, and on his podcast, we started to speak and tell our stories, and we really connected because we were both refugees and we spoke French, and it was fascinating. And then when he started to write the first volume of the book, Leaders with a Heart, he invited me to write a chapter in that. And my chapter is, I'm no longer a victim, I'm a creator. So because, you know, I have been in Rwanda during the genocide time. It was already horrible and painful. I never knew that I would become a refugee because in 1994 we had to go to Congo and then we came back in Rwanda. I thought it was enough. So that victimhood of the war and violence and things, and I say, I'm more than that. I can create. And then now I created the Diversity in Action system, a framework to show people how if you are willing to embed diversity, equity, and inclusion in your organization, where do you start? You start with creating a commitment. You have to be committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And what does it mean? You and I, we have different talents, background, skills, and when we put all this together, it's like a richness we are bringing to any community, to any organization. And I wanted to show leaders, even if you are brand new and you do not know where to start, I can give you a framework from declaring the commitment to delivering results. So, and then and the second book also is the lady is from Canada. So I'm a global citizen, as you can see.
Yes.
So when I was connected to her, she said, Drocella, I am about to write a book with women. Are you willing to write a chapter in it? I say, of course. And then the title of my chapter is challenging the status quo. Because in every day, change happens. And in the diversity, equity space, challenging the status quo is like bread and butter. Because you have to make people understand, learn, unlearn all those things maybe you are not aware, and how you deal with people from different backgrounds. And you know, like now, I am saying 1 language is not enough, 2 languages are not enough. How do we include and make sure no child is left behind because of the language they speak? But it takes an empire to do that. And this is why I need ambassadors of language equity and diversity. So this is how I came. When I resigned from Bridge, I had a voice to work with African Americans and police department. And I didn't know what it is. I said, God, you will guide me, how I would do that. But what I noticed in this system, our words have power. I want people to frame their own happy diversity alphabet within the organization so that it can be a conventional alphabet they go by. What are the words that they have common understanding on, and even words that are triggering to see how when they have difficult conversation they can use them.
I love it. And real quick, I do want to say the name of this one is With Grace and Grit, which is a fantastic title
Yeah.
to be a part of. Where do you see yourself going from here? I mean, most people just living a regular life would be enough, but you've done some really big things. Where do you see yourself taking this next phase in your life?
My dream, as I said, is to build this diversity in action global movement. I want to see ambassadors of diversity in different organizations among young people, especially at school. Tomorrow I'll speak with a group of students in Boston to see how they can be ambassadors of languages in their neighborhood, in their classes and things. So I see myself like being a world-class diversity activist because there is a lot of things to do. Sometimes you say, we are good, but when you go deeper and deeper, you find many things to go. And we are all rich, and we are all have greatness in us. We have to pull it up and for the use of our community. And I want to travel the 50 states, all the 50 states. I think I have done already almost 15, so I just want to travel.
But you do travel. I mean,
yes.
This mission that you're on has taken you outside of the country to speak to different organizations.
Yes, and I went to England. This is how I learned how to create your own framework. So this diversity in action system, I was inspired from a coach in England, and I went there, and I'm speaking virtually and in person. So I want just to travel as I used to travel, and for now I traveled in more than 32 countries, so I want to do more.
What has been your favorite award? You've won many awards and you've been recognized by many organizations. Do you have one that sticks out?
So Champion for Change. I got two Champion for Change awards, one from Church World Service and one from Community Shares. So I think change and challenging the status quo. You see where I'm going, so yeah.
Why Knoxville? You clearly have been here 15 years. You've established yourself, in the United States where you're good. Life is good. You could have moved to a bigger city. You could have moved to one with more diversity, where you can be amongst, where you can get a little taste of your culture in that city. Why stay here?
Why God sent me here? When people ask me, I have been recommended to go to big cities many times. And I said, why God sent me here? And I think we need more diversity and equity in Knoxville, especially. And some people say, don't speak about it. And I said, this is why I have to speak about it.
A little louder for the people in the back.
Because sometimes at the surface you can say this, but based on our stories and what we live, some people were saying, why are you here? And they didn't understand. Some people will hang up the phone on me because they are not patient to catch up my accent. And sometimes I had to say, I am the only one who can help you. And people start to listen. Because when you learn another language, another culture, you become more patient, you cross the cultural barriers, and you are more like a supportive person. And you value what other person has, and they value yours. So I think I do still have a lot of to do in Knoxville. I want to train in corporate, but also nonprofit organizations about how diversity is an asset instead of being a liability.
Wow. Drocella, have you been able to go home to Rwanda?
Not yet.
So for all these years here, you have not been able to go home. You still have family there.
I still have family there. I cannot go now. I'm faithful and hopeful that one day I'll go back.
Do they understand that being here, like the difference in community and culture, have you been able to talk to them at all to just kind of explain, like, this is my community and this is where I live and this is what I'm doing?
They may see this on social media. For safety reasons, I prefer not to interact, and but they see. Wow. And I did forgive people who made me free, because otherwise I would not move forward. So I did it to liberate them. And because I happen to differentiate people's behaviors from themselves.
That's a message, because a lot of people can't do that. To forgive, to forgive. What legacy do you want to leave here in Knoxville and in America?
In America and the whole world, I want to leave the legacy of being known as a lady who is a champion for language, equity, and diversity. I want languages to be taught at home, in school, and be promoted in the business work. And that one, I will never stop until I get there.
I believe you. I believe you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for speaking with me. You are such an asset